Hi guys, can you confirm if you are getting my audio correctly? Just give me a minute here. Can someone just type in to tell me if audio is coming fine? Also, if there is any. Right. If you guys see any audio or hear any audio issues or see any video quality issues, then please do comment. If you don't comment, then I do not know if you guys are hearing me and seeing me fine or not. So give me a minute here. Let me shut down the door behind me and I'll be back. All right, audio check. Can you guys hear me? Yes, cool. All right, Jung Ho. Cool. Thank you guys for joining. So I got a bunch of questions today on Google Analytics 4. Well, I've been getting these questions, so I thought I'll do this live session to walk you guys through some of the common questions and answer them. And if you do have any questions that you want me to answer and I'm not answering here, please type them here. Now, Google Analytics 4 is brand new, and not a lot of clients are using that today, which in my opinion, they should be using. The sooner you get on Google Analytics 4 bandwagon, sooner you'll learn all the nuances and all the cool things that it provides. So those who are not aware of Google Analytics 4, right? This is a new free version of Google Analytics. One of the first question that I always get is, what is Google Analytics 4? So I'll answer that and then we'll go through all these questions. But before I dive in, make sure to give a thumbs up to this video. You're gonna love what you see. If you don't, then you can uncheck it to unlike it. And also I want you to subscribe to this channel. I provide full Google Analytics 4 training masterclass, which is online, as well as provide workshops and training sessions customized to your workplace. If somebody has, wants to bring me to their organization, so I can show them how they can leverage Google Analytics 4. Now, once you're done that, give it a thumbs up, subscribe to this channel, check out Optizent Academy courses, and I will drop a link here. Also, those who are listening today, I am currently running this promotion on Optizent Academy, where you can get $1 trial. So just pay $1, get a 7-day trial. And in that, you will also get a Google Analytics Masterclass. So if you are brave enough to just spend next 7 days learning about Google Analytics 4, this is your chance to only learn for $1. That course that I have will continue to evolve, which means I will be adding more and more content as features become available in Google Analytics 4, or as I discover things that my clients are asking, or I discover things that people are asking in forums, all right? Okay, with that, I'm gonna start. And if any questions are not answered, I'll answer them later, maybe in a follow-up session. I've done quite a few sessions on Google Analytics 4, and so you can find those videos on this channel. Go ahead and browse that after this session so you can see what I have already delivered. There's a bunch more that are in works, so I'll be touching on different topics in Google Analytics 4 in this channel, as well as in the courses. If you do have any issues at all or questions or need clarification, please type your comment here. I will try to answer all the comments as much as possible. We have limited time for this session, so I want to make sure I cover the content here. So first question is, what is Google Analytics 4? Those who are here either are already kind of playing with Google Analytics 4 or trying to figure out, should I be playing with Google Analytics 4 or using it? So first is Google Analytics 4 is a free version of Google Analytics. It's the next version from Universal Analytics, which you guys have been using so far if you have been using Google Analytics. In the new version, everything is an event. So think about this. Every hit, every action user takes, or every interaction that happens in your browser or app is counted as an event. That is a shift from how things used to work in previous version. So in Universal Analytics, you had page views. In Google Analytics, 4 page views are now events. So everything is an event. That is a shift in the mindset on how things are working. And it is one of those things that's very hard for people to digest. I keep seeing these forum messages. People who are experts in Google Analytics because they have built their livelihood on Google Analytics, Universal Analytics, are freaking out because Google Analytics 4 does not align to their thinking on how they have been thinking. Now, people who have been in the industry for quite some time know that this is how we all started. Everything was captured as a hit. And then that hit can be called an event, page view, it doesn't matter. There are certain things in Google Analytics 4 that are automatically captured. So one of the question comes up is, do I need to set up events in Google? Do I need to set specific events for external link clicks, PDF downloads, videos, etc.? Those things are covered in Google Analytics 4. So you don't have to worry about those things. When you enable, they are called enhanced measurement events. They are automatically tracked. So a bunch of things are very, very easy to track. People who are freaking out, one of the common question about this is, hey, Google Analytics 4 is not ready. It's not ready. In my opinion, it's ready, right? Sure, there will be features, there'll be reports that'll be coming up and they are missing. Like you guys have been used to a previous version of Google Analytics 4, which provided several canned reports. Those reports are not available anymore. Will they come in Google Analytics 4? Maybe. I think Google Analytics will have enough pressure from people who are complaining about it to put those reports. But it's possible Google might say, we are not going to provide you those reports. Why? Because there is a way to get to those reports. Few canned reports that were available, or whatever, I can't count, but let's say if there were about 50, 60, 100 reports, those do not answer every business question that you have, and they do not fit for every business vertical, right? But people got used to those reports. Every day I see reports, people churning out reports, just restating those things, like how many page views, how many visits it got, what is the bounce rate. Bounce rate is number one thing that everybody started reporting. Every problem, bounce rate. Every solution, bounce rate. That is the only thing people focused on. Every report I see. Guess what? There's no bounce rate in Google Analytics 4. So there goes your livelihood of depending on bounce rate. And those things have changed. There is a different way of thinking. Bounce rate in old days just meant, you came to a page, whether you went to second page or not. So if you didn't go to second page, you just landed and left, that was considered bounce rate, default definition. Some people became creative and they said, well, my page is long, which is the case with most of the article pages and most of the blog posts. In those scenarios, bounce rate was very high. Even today, this morning, I saw a Quora question somebody was asking me. I put my blog link on social media and my bounce rate is high. Well, it's expected. People are going to read your blog post or not read your blog post, right? But they are going to not go to the second page. Like for them to go to a second page is very unlikely. So bounce rate is going to go up if you have a blog. Now, some people got creative, as I was saying. They put scroll, depth, etc., as an interaction, so their bounce rate went down. Some people counted link clicks, external link clicks on as not bouncing, and their bounce rate went down. But this was a way of them adjusting those bounce rates. Then you compare those to industry standards, and there is no industry standard. I published 12 years, maybe more than 12 years ago, a bounce rate guide, which was looking at specific channels, specific industries, specific types of sites, and published some of the bounce rates people were seeing. But comparing to industry is not a good guideline. However, if you did look at bounce rates, you were able to guess whether your site is working or not. But since everybody was becoming creative with their bounce rate measurements, they were all over the place. Now that has been replaced with what's called engagement. How engaged is the user with your site? So that is one of the things that you can reverse and use like, inverse of engagement as your bounce. However, that engagement is not just dependent on the bouncing. It also, if somebody takes an interaction that's a conversion events or 10 or spend certain time, then that person is not counted as bounce. Hopefully that engagement metrics addresses most of people's site, because either people are going to do something valuable for your site on your site, or they are going to spend some time reading the content, right? Or they're going to look at 2 or 3 pages. In those cases, if a user does that, then they're counted as engaged, right? It's not exactly a bounce where you came and you left. So those are some of the differences that I have seen. Now I'm going to go and go to Google Analytics 4, share that screen with you, and tell you why people are freaking and why you should not be freaking when you see Google Analytics 4, because it's ready if you know how to use it. Not to say like everything is available and everything is easy. It's just you have to shift the way you are thinking. And it is way more powerful than Universal Analytics was. It provides you so much more information, so much more control over the data, that you can do a bunch of stuff. Even like I've been thinking about, building machine learning models on top of that. We have a course that actually goes in and shows you how you can use Google Analytics data and run algorithms on top of that to find insights that were not possible when you use Universal Analytics. So I'm going to go to Google Analytics for interface here. Just give me a minute. Meanwhile, if you have any questions, then please let me know. Any specific things you want me to cover, then let me know. All right, I am going to Google Analytics 4 property here. And I'm going to share my screen. So once you see it, just let me know. All right. I hope you guys see my screen. Right. Okay. So why are people freaking out? People are freaking out, as I mentioned, because there are very limited reports. If you look at in the customer life cycle, how the reports are arranged, right? Rather than being in a bucket for the previous way, how it was, behavior, etc. Now behavior is scattered over things, over different buckets. So it's a customer life cycle. Here you have life cycle acquisition. How are you acquiring the customer? Engagement, how engaged they are with your site. Monetization, which talks about whether you're making money from those users or not. And then how good are you in retaining those customers? How good are you in bringing them back on your site? So while engagement measures right away, are they doing certain things? Retention is, are they coming back to your site again and again? That's what it's measuring. And as you'll notice, bunch of reports are missing in these. They're very light reports here. And as I mentioned, some of these reports might start to come back again. Where the power of Google Analytics 4 lies is in Analysis Hub. This is a place where you should be spending a lot of time. This is where you will find all the reports or construct all the reports that you have been missing, right? That have been missing from, if you compare to Universal Analytics, which is the current previous version, however you want to call it. So that, and then integration with BigQuery. So those who do not know BigQuery, spend time learning BigQuery. It's not rocket science, but it does take time to learn. I will be conducting some sessions. I'm conducting one with Digital Analytics Association, where I will go through and teach BigQuery and how you can leverage that, as well as for Marketing Analytics Summit that's coming up. I will be talking about BigQuery as well as SQL. So it'll touch a little bit on BigQuery, the Marketing Analytics Summit to get you started. And then the Digital Analytics Association workshop is going to be deep into BigQuery. Those who don't want to attend those, they are expensive. You still have an option. You can go on, become a member on Optizent Academy, and you can get the BigQuery courses. If you don't want to do that, there are tons of sessions I've done on this YouTube channel, which are free. Plus, there are tons of free resources. If you are all about your free resources, go for those. But if you want some guidance, hand-holding, questions that you can get answered, then join one of those sessions. When creating a new, so I've got a question from Karen here. When creating a new GA property, there's a way to add UA property under advanced. Yes. In that scenario, does the GA4 tracking pull the data into both, or do I need to add both? Yes. So in that scenario, when you create this, your tag will have both those scenarios. But here's what I would say. Use Google Analytics GTM. Always use Google Tag Manager is my opinion here. Then you will add both of those tracking codes in those, and you will have to put those tracking codes. So GA4 has a different tracking code, and then Universal Analytics has different tracking codes. However, certain things will be overlapping as the data is being collected. So I would suggest is both. If you put one code, it's not going to, I haven't tried it, but I don't think it covers both of them. You have to use them separately. I've always used GTM, not putting on the page directly. Cool. All right. I keep getting these pop-ups. I should remove this pop-up from here. All right. Karen, let me know if that answers your question. So always use GTM, set those two different tags, and then you will start to track the data. The tracking that happens in both Universal Analytics and Google Analytics 4 is a bit different, right? Event tracking. In previous version, you had category, action, and label, those kind of things you can pass for event. In Google Analytics 4, that's all gone. What you have is now event and their parameters. You can have each, I think there is about 25 or 35 limit on each parameter that you can pass for your events. So when you pass these parameters, so you can do more than category, action, label, there are many more slots for you to use to pass that information. So when you do tracking in Google Tag Manager, or even like directly on the site, which I do not recommend because you have very less control, you are dependent on developers to do it, and working through their priorities, it's a challenge, right? They have their own priorities, you have your own priorities. So you have to work through those. That's why always do it via Google Tag Manager. And it's so much easier. There is much more functionality available to you when you use Google Tag Manager. And those who are interested, there is a course I have on several places, actually several platforms, one of my best-selling courses on Google Tag Manager. It doesn't cover Google Analytics 4 tracking yet, but there is a new course that is coming up, and it's also part of my Google Analytics 4 masterclass that's available on Optizent Academy. All right, so I'm going to read a few more questions here and then go back here. How in depth does your BigQuery course go into? What sort of actionable things I'll get out of it? So what my BigQuery course goes into is going to be focused on how you can get your data from Google Analytics into Google Analytics 4. Simple integration. I even have a free video on that. Then it talks about the structure, and it tells you how to write queries, every type of query that's possible, and then come up with business use cases that you can apply immediately. So it's quite in depth, but it's not going to be the masterclass in BigQuery, which is it's the focus is mainly on Google Analytics, BigQuery, marketing analytics use cases or product analytics use cases. But I'm not going to tell you how to admin your BigQuery, etc. There are several other courses out there for that. It's a vast subject. So everything that I focus on is related to my audience, which is, marketers and people who are using web analytics and for product, etc. Okay, that was from Joseph Curtis. Douglas asks, when you transition from Universal to GA, do you lose your historical data? Great question. That's one of the questions that keeps coming up. Do I lose historical data? If you keep both codes on, you're not losing anything. Your Universal Analytics keeps on collecting the data. GA4 starts to collect the data as well. All collection happens from the day you start this, put the code. If you do remove your Universal Analytics code and only put GA4, which I do not recommend, I recommend put both. You need to look at both because your audience and you might be used to a certain way of looking at the data. And it'll take some time getting used to GA4. So if you do, however, decide I'm done with Universal Analytics, I'm removing it. In that scenario, your previous data will still be there. It just won't collect data going forward because you've removed the code. And only GA4 data will be collected. So you do not lose historical, it stays there. I hope I'm saying this name right, Demito, Esther. Do you advise businesses to have both GA and Universal? And if so, which version should be linked to GTM? Do both, and both should be implemented using GTM. There is a Universal Analytics tracking and there is GA4 tracking. Now, some companies or some organizations, some people are using the same GTM container for both. And some are using separate containers for GA4 and Universal Analytics. Choice is yours. There is no right or wrong answer. However, if you have too many tags already in Universal Analytics, then I would suggest create a new container. We'll help you with that management. And then you can just remove the old container once you're done with Universal Analytics. But it all depends. I sometimes mix them up to try out different things because there are certain things that I'm measuring. I want to see, like, I don't want to do those again here. I'm still testing GA4. And sometimes I create a new container. It's entirely up to you. But if I were to advise you at this point, I would say put different containers if you can. Now, it all depends on IT. If they have, or whoever the developer is on your website, if it's easy for you, go ahead and put it. And that way you can separate and remove, but no hard and fast rule there. Doug says, thank you. And then Daria, I have an earthquake application and track it on Google Analytics 4. I want to see how many people voted my app in Google Play Store, of which score they gave. How can I see those details? So now your Google Play Store is in Google, right? We don't get data from that. If you can figure out, I don't know what APIs in store are available. If you can get that and put that hit into your Google Analytics 4, then it'll be available to you. Otherwise, you do not know what's happening outside your domain. Only thing you can capture is what's happening within the domains that you control. What types of tracking do you prefer for GA4 and GTM? Great question. What type of tracking? It all depends on your business. And this is where the differences in business verticals, etc., come into play. what are you trying to achieve? Any tracking, and this is one of the questions that I keep getting, and I get it. I feel like people are not paying attention to what should be tracked. First and foremost thing, even before you start GTM, GA, anything, step back and think about what are we trying to achieve here? What do I want to know? Or what does a business want to know? There are many experts who will give you these guidance or track this, track this, track this, track this, track this. But my question is why? Why are you tracking something that's not going to add any value to your business? Do you care? Do you have videos? Track videos. Do you need to track videos? Yes. Those things you have to answer beforehand. What are we trying to achieve? What kind of events? And GA4, by the way, has requires you to think a lot more than Universal Analytics did. The reason is because you can have so many events and so many parameters. Google Analytics 4 has two main things, right? You've got users, which is audience, and you've got events. Users have user properties, so you can define whatever this user is, and events have event parameters. Before you start tracking, whether GTM or not GTM, think about what events will make sense. And not only what events will make sense, what event parameters will make sense. Because there are tons of things. You can do custom tracking, and there are recommended events, and there are enhanced measurement events that are already being tracked. So you don't have to worry about those. But recommended events, do we need to track a PDF download? Yes, it's already tracked. Do we need to track this page view, that session, etc.? Those are the things that have to be defined in your strategy. So by common things, if you just want to know common things, then you don't even have to do any kind of setup. All you do is go to admin, and when you're setting the stream, this is by default, right? Data streams. These things are already tracked. Page view is an event. Scrolls, which required in the previous version for you to track separately. You mark things that you want to track, like how far people are scrolling. Outbound clicks are people clicking on external links and going somewhere else. You had to track that in Universal Analytics. It's automatically tracked in Google Analytics 4. Site search are people, what keywords people are searching for. That's automatically tracked. That's searching for on your site, not from Google or Bing. That's automatically tracked. Video engagement. These are embedded YouTube videos only, not like a Vimeo player or any other player. And there is a specific code that you need to put to track that. And then you have file downloads, PDFs, etc. All these required you to have separate tracking enabled within GTM. Now you don't have to do that. All you have to do is this switch is on and you can track them. If you need settings right here, you can individually turn them on and off right here. Site search, how you want to track it, what kind of query parameters contain the keywords, those things are automatically done for you. So that's it. That's the limit. Now, if you have e-commerce, you definitely want to set e-commerce. If you have lead gen, you want to set lead gen events, but it all depends on your business. Pay attention to this. Most of the time you will be spending, or most of your time you will be spending on strategizing what needs to be tracked rather than getting in and doing the tracking itself. Believe me, that'll save you a lot of headache. That'll save you a lot of hours in cost associated with managing tags that don't matter. So pay attention to those. So they do not need to be tracked again in GTM, as we can find them in analytics tag. Correct. You do not need to track anything in GTM related to these. They are automatically done for you. That's a big difference. And I'm sure they will be adding more content here, more type of things, so that your dependence is limited. You just put one tag and it's all tagless. I mean, all, custom coding or custom tracking is gone away. They'll keep adding those things. So Okay, so that should answer your question on what to track. I have templates that I use for tracking and saying what events, what properties. And that is one of the things where, when people say Universal Analytics or Google Analytics 4 is not ready, I'm like, it's more than ready. Think about you are limited to three events, three parameters per event in previous tracking, action, category, action, and label. Now you have tons of parameters. And in BigQuery, you can see all of those events, all of those parameters, what's coming up. So your imagination is the limit here. As far as you can imagine, you can put it, you will be able to track it and conduct your analysis. I have mainly e-commerce client, but one law firm, lead gen. Yeah, so you'll have to, lead gen most likely is going to be the thank you page of contact us page, right? You will track that. And you don't even have to do those with GTM. There are ways in Google Analytics 4 interface to convert pages into and conversion events or goals or whatever you want to call them. And then for e-commerce, definitely there will be coding or there will be GTM implementation required because it'll be dependent on data layer where you're getting the product values, you're getting the whole checkout process. So in that case, you will need to put that in GTM. It's not enabled in GA4 by default yet. So here's your BigQuery linking. If you guys haven't done BigQuery linking, go through my video that is available on this channel. Or if you are already a member of Optisant Academy, then you will find a BigQuery course that walks you through step by step on how to get this linking done. And then you can start to see your data in BigQuery. I'm going to actually go to BigQuery and see if I can. So BigQuery. You guys can still see my screen, right? If you don't, then let me know. So here in BigQuery, you can see I'm passing an Optisant test project and you have event level data and you can do query table right here. Here, you can see all the events, when event happened, time spent, all the parameters that are being passed. You can have your custom parameters, campaigns, and trends. Any custom parameters that you pass, you will be able to see them right here. And then you have the values for those, etc. I did a full session on this whole thing to show you how you can start to see these values and what can you do with them. But I'm going to go in depth in my workshop so you can see everything that's possible. So even though canned reports are not there, you have hit level data. Every single action that's happening or being tracked is here. You can create your own reports with BigQuery. That is with the Google Data Studio. So all you have to do is configure these in Google Data Studio the way you want, and everything is available to you. And this combined with your analysis hub, where did it go? Right here. That is where you can find everything. So you can go ahead and construct your analysis hub. Very interface is very much like Google Data Studio. And those who are used to Adobe Analytics might be familiar with this. Its interface is mirrors, not exactly, but very similar to how Adobe Analytics workspaces work. In Adobe Analytics also, you rely on these reports. You construct the report the way you want rather than relying on canned reports. Those canned reports are very limited. Here you can pick and choose and decide what kind of events, what kind of parameters for those events, what audience I want to see in my report. So it's very customizable. I'm going to read a few more questions here. Will a recording of this live be available? Yes, it will be available. if you are registered on Optizent Academy for this session, then you will receive an email with that session. If not, you can come back to the channel and it'll be available here as well. And those who are members, it actually also is available in one of the courses where I compile all the live sessions I have conducted. There are about 20 plus live sessions that I have conducted, not on Google Analytics 4, but there are various topics, right? So we cover experimentation, digital analytics, all sorts of tools like Google Analytics 4, GTM, etc. All those live sessions are available in the course as well. Okay. Okay, you are seeing my screen code. How are GTM tags different from GA4? I'll answer that, Karen. And then Douglas, this integration to BigQuery is limit to GA4 only. Yes. So I'm going to answer Douglas's question first. Yes. Previous version of Universal Analytics, you had to use third-party tools or integration wasn't easy, right? And it was limited. Like you would use Supermetrics or something to connect. Or you'll write your own code to get those via APIs. This is native integration in BigQuery. And that is how I'm thinking they are using this. Say, you are an analyst. You have the data in different places. BigQuery, you have the data here in Analysis Hub. Go configure the way your business stakeholders want this report. So that integration is native. Now, one thing I'll caution you, there is a free version of BigQuery that you can use that has some limits. And there is also a paid version where if you have too much data and you're collecting everything, you might have to pay. And that cost can escalate pretty quickly. I've seen horror stories about that. So you have to manage what you want to put in BigQuery. As I showed you here, this is a daily thing, right? This one is a daily event log. Everything that's happening by every user. So if I bring in third-party data, I can even know exactly who that user is, who did these things on my site. So I can have particularly saying, hey, Douglas did these things on my site because I have Douglas's information somewhere in my CRM. I have a user ID that I can track Douglas to, and then I have every single activity. That wasn't possible in Universal Analytics. Well, it was possible, but you had to do some other processing there. And also, there is, this one is intraday. So what happens here is as data is coming in, every single hit within few seconds shows up here. So I can do real-time debugging if I want. So I can put this, enable this in my BigQuery integration, and then I can see as the data comes in right away. Yeah, that says, yes, we use Supermetrics. Yeah, so with BigQuery, no need to do Supermetrics. Everything is there. All right, going back to Karen's question, how are GTM tags different for GA4? So GTM is a container and rule enabler, if you think about that. It doesn't have tags by itself. You enable those tags and say, I want to track this tag, and then pass that information to whichever analytics solution you want. There is a direct integration with Google Analytics. So you say, if user does this, I'm going to pass this information to Google Analytics. That's how it works. When you can choose to pass that to, say, Facebook pixel, if you would like, hey, people scroll, I want to pass this event to Facebook. That's up to you. So GTM does not have any tag. You enable tags and triggers. When do you want to log certain thing in GTM? It's up to you. GA4 is specific to Google Analytics 4 tags. So you can put them on page. I want to track these things in Google Analytics 4. You can put them directly on your page, or you can say, I'm not going to put anything on page. Why? Because anytime I have to make a change, I have to go through my developers and it's going to cost me time and money. So I am going to enable those via GTM. GTM is just an enabler. It does not store any data. It does not fire anything by itself. You tell it what you need to fire when, and it'll just pass the information from one place to another. That's it. It's a container, it's a rule enabler. So hopefully that answers, Karen. If not, there are certain videos that go through like GTM if you are not familiar, and more than happy to answer your questions. I also conduct office hours. Generally, I open them to general public. It's open for my students, but sometimes I do open them to general public. If you have any specific question and the question is interesting, that I would like my students to know about that as well. So I open it and invite others as well. All right. So what else? Let me check here. What else was I going to cover? Okay, bounce rate we covered. Now, other thing that people want to know is where is my segmentation uh, in Google Analytics 4, right? So I'm going to go back here, and where you see audience, you can create new audience segments right here. So you have create a custom audience. You have some templates here. So let's say if I want to look at people who are within age, and then I pick these age ranges. So that is my segment. And once that segment is created, you can give a name, and then you can save that, and that audience will be available. So if I go back right here, here are my segments. I created this mobile user segments. So now I can see mobile users, how they are performing on the site. That's the audience that I'm using. So that's where the segmentation is available. All right, I got another question from Banduria, complete beginner here. Should I use the old GA or GA4? We answered that question early on. I think maybe you just joined here. Use both. You can watch the session replay on where I talked about the differences here, but use both and learn both. Old GA is not going anywhere for a few years, as far as I can tell. People are so used to it. I even had seen, like, as I was mentioning before, like so many experts are freaking out on this thing, like GA4, it's not ready, it's not ready. So they're going to continue to use old GA. Companies are not going to move. There is a different way of thinking. The metrics won't align. That's another big difference. Your numbers won't align. If you look at both of those systems, numbers won't align. Why? There is a different way of how sessions are calculated in one versus the other. There is minor difference. And also, when they collect hits, those collects in GA4, they are sent later. So you will see some of those hits might come up later, and that'll cause the difference in the numbers. So there are certain differences. I have an ebook that's available, and I can drop that link here as well on 10 things to watch, I think, or I don't know the exact title, but I talk about the differences in GA4 and Universal Analytics. I'll drop the link in here as the comment, and also send out to those who have registered on Opticent Academy for this this session. If you haven't registered for that session and do you want to get the email with links, then drop me an email and I'll tell you where to get those. Okay. Okay, we are a training institute, Banduria says again, and I want to know what my best audience in what my best audience is. That is something you will have to analyze. There are several ways of analyzing it. Use Analysis Hub, use BigQuery, create audience. So if I were you, I would go in and start looking at these audience segments to slice and dice the data. First is just go and look all up users, what are they doing, where they are. Then I would go and use my Analysis Hub to start putting some reports together. Again, it starts with business question. Who's my best audience, right? What do you mean by best? People who are converting, people who are consuming the courses, people who are signing up. Define those, what's best. Then look at those end actions, make sure they are tracked properly. That was one of the questions that came up. What should I be tracking? You need to track those. And then once you have those, you use Analysis Hub. That'll be your first place to start. This is where you can explore. There are several templates available. If not, you can create something from scratch and start putting your stuff. Here's segments that are available to you, event names, metrics, you drag and drop, and you can start to find them. If you're interested in knowing how to use Analysis Hub, again, the details are available in the course, but I'm more than happy to walk you through if you just want to have a session and show up on my office hours. Just let me know. Okay, I'll go through your training offering and reach out if I still have question, Karen. Cool. Yeah, thank you. And right now, by the way, I'm gonna plug it in again. I am running a promotion right now. So that promotion, it's a 7-day trial for $1. So you can try that. And also there is, I believe there is a coupon that expires, I think this week. Now just send me an email, I'll send you that. And you just reach out to me at anil@optizent.com or batraonline@gmail.com. Both will work. Right here, I heard this, but here you have a single user for your own site. I didn't get simple user. I didn't get that. What do you mean by simple user for our own site? If you can explain me, I'll be able to answer that. Do you think GA4 is better than universal GA for e-commerce site based on funnels like courses or coaching site? I'm curious about the funnel analysis in GA4. I don't think it's GA4 is better. Universal Analytics 4, Universal GA works fine. Here you can have much more information. So funnel analysis, again, is one of the exploration techniques that you can do right here. So if you go and check out, you will be able to do right here. So you pick that and you can pick your steps. This has more customizable in that sense. So I would say play with it, see how you feel. Maybe you'll find like for your particular use case, this works better. I think, in my opinion, GA4 is much more flexible, much more extensible. You can bring in data, you can customize it. That wasn't possible in Universal Analytics. Universal Analytics was black box, you had all the data that's aggregated, etc. In here, you need to know how to aggregate, but the flexibility is there. Tons of ways to slice and dice the data. And that's why I'm a big fan of where GA4 is. Now, how the product evolves, I do not know. What they have in mind, I do not know. What I am looking at so far, I love it. And it's just, which I mentioned earlier, it's just a different way of thinking. So once you get hang of it, you'll start to appreciate what it brings. Okay, thanks for the link to the ebook. Cool. Best is equal to paying customer. Yeah, if you have paying customers, if that's what you call them best, whether they consume your courses or not, and if somebody's paying, that's easy to do. How many people paid, and then you have purchaser. There is actually already audience segment called purchasers, people who have made a purchase. You can just slice the data based on that and see who the purchasers are. Now you want to know, and this is where the course that we have goes in and say, what makes a person purchaser? What are the type of things that are indicator of person becoming a purchaser? That's an important aspect to know, right? Not possible in Universal Analytics. In Google Analytics 4, with the data that you have at that level, I can tell you which events, somebody, let's say you have 5 PDFs, you have videos on your site, you have page scrolls on your site, you're tracking a bunch of events. I can tell you which series of events or which events are likely predictor of somebody becoming a purchaser. So what can you do with that information? You can make sure your users see those events or those actions. Let's say that I'll take a very simple use case. You have 5 PDFs. Download this ebook, download that ebook. And then you figure out ebook number 3 with your algorithm. You can figure out people who download ebook number 3 and ebook number 5 end up purchasing. 1, 2, and 4 don't have any impact. What are you going to do with that information? You can use that information to make sure in your sequence, people get to see 3 and 5 early on, maybe, right? And that drives your action. That's the level of insights you can get. and then take action on. And this is a very, very simple use case. Maybe on those PDFs, you have user attributes. Then you can say people who download 3 and are from US and are in this age range are likely to purchase, become a purchaser. That's even deeper insight. All that's possible by data that's sitting in Google Analytics 4. You just need to know how to use it, how to bring those insights, and those insights have to be tied back to your business questions that you're trying to answer. That is how you conduct your analysis here. Lots of information. You don't have to, that course I'm talking about is we go in machine learning to use that. You don't have to use machine learning. Even like if you just pull the data in Excel or just in BigQuery, if you don't want to use BigQuery, pull it in, like I said, Excel or Data Studio, and you can conduct some of those analysis. But there is a lot more for analysts here. Not so much if you are the end user, you will have to rely at this point on an analyst to pull that information, unless you want to go and figure out these things on your own. Okay, when are your office hours? Sorry, I'm not a data pro. That's fine. I will send, if you are there, I will send an email. You'll receive an email. All the users do receive when office hours are there. And sometimes it's open to public, sometimes it's not. So I'll let you know when it's open to public. This is exactly what I want to know, where the weakest link to fix as well. Yeah. So you can know that information in GA4. Now, I'm not conducting complete GA4 deep dive insights, but those are the kind of things that I will discuss in my BigQuery course because the data is in BigQuery. Or even you can use Analysis Hub. Those who don't want to venture and say, I'm not a SQL guy. If you're not and you're an analyst, I highly recommend that you become a SQL guy. At least know enough to know SQL. I mean, know enough to write basic SQL. You don't have to be an expert because a lot of analysis depends on that data. It's like multi-channel data that's coming in. Not GA or GA4 is just one piece of the puzzle. A lot of insights come from the other data sources, your email system that's sending emails, your CRM solution that's tracking, customer relationship, etc. Like when did you acquire the customer? What did they do? Call center data. All that stuff actually influences users' behavior. So if you know how to bring them together, how to conduct analysis, more power to you. You'll be invaluable asset or valuable asset to your organization. Okay, this is exactly okay. GA4 has sampling. I believe it does have sampling. I'm not sure about the limit. So that's a question I'll find out. I'll try to find out what depth of sampling does it have. But I will let you know. You can email me and I can find out about that. All right. Moving along, what other things are there? So there is segmentation we talked about. And then there is also this admin panel I want to show you. Those who are used to old GA, they were like, hey, I had this capability to do internal filtering, IP filtering, etc. Where is that? All those things are now part of your data stream settings. When you go here, more tagging settings. This is one which is kind of hidden and very hard for people to realize it's even there. Click on it and you can see various things that you can do with your tags. You can modify the events that are being tracked. So let's say you track an event in GTM, but you realize it's not the right one. You can make the changes here. Or you want to modify something about that, or the values, etc. But here is internal IP filtering. You can set your IPs by creating a rule here. And when you create this rule, all these IPs that match this rule are tagged as this value that you assign as an event parameter. Then once you're done with that, you can go back and filter those out in your settings. So you go data settings, I believe, and data filters. This is where you set and say traffic type internal. That's the parameter I set in the previous one. And I want to exclude this traffic or include this traffic. This is where you can set those values. So if things are a bit scattered, they are there. They're just in different locations. So once you kind of get idea about where things are, it'll become very easy for you to navigate BigQuery. Google Analytics 4. All right. What else can I cover? Any other questions? Let me go back to my stream. I think where did it go? All right. Any other questions I can cover? This is all I had. So one thing I would say, if there are no more questions, go ahead and set this linking up. That's one. And then you have these data filters that people keep asking, where do I filter internal traffic? You know, that's available here. Data stream is how the data is coming. So you can check all these settings. These are already tracked. And then more tagging settings are right here. So you can remove unwanted referrals. You can configure this is for cross-domain tracking. You can put the domains that you want to track as one in one property here. You can even create or modify events. So you can even create new events right here. You don't have to create everything there. If there are page level events, you can create them right here. Thank you page. I can just go ahead and create that event name equals page view, etc. And then condition is whatever the parameters I want to use. Cool. Another question that actually I keeps coming up is a lot of people put when e-commerce tracking, and particularly a bunch of you mentioned e-commerce tracking and lead gen. When you're tracking your events, one of the events might be, hey, purchase happened, a purchase event, or it might be a lead gen thank you page that you are tracking as an event. You might want to pass value to it, like what is the dollar value or whatever currency you have. Google Analytics 4 documentation, actually, it's not there yet. Yeah, I think they're working on it and it'll be there, but it's not clear to a lot of people, which is what I see most of the time. They will put a value of that event. So purchase event, let's say somebody purchased $100 worth of stuff, they'll put 100. And that's in when they're configuring in Google Tag Manager. They'll put in 100, and then that won't show up in monetization right here. It won't show up in this report. And the reason it doesn't show up like it's not, the reason it doesn't show up in those reports is because you're missing a currency value. Default value, the Google Analytics 4 documentation says that default value is USD. However, even if you're using USD, you have to pass that currency value or currency code in your tracking. Otherwise, your e-commerce data is not going to show up. So those who are setting it up, keep that in mind. Okay, I've got another question here from Daria. I am so new on GA. I started with GA4, but everywhere I see Universal Analytics courses. I couldn't find very large GA4 courses. Should I start with Universal or should I learn it else? You haven't checked Optizent Academy courses then. That is the largest GA4 course you will see. It's the master class. I have a beginners and master class. Master class is everything that I know is available or will be available. If it's not available, then you have access to me via my office hours. So if anything you get stuck, you ask me and I keep bringing those things. And anything that will be, our clients are using or I'm coming across in forums, everything is translated into a lecture that's available in that masterclass. So you don't have to look anywhere else. Every problem, everything will be covered in that. It's not covering everything yet, but my promise is it'll be there. And if it's not there, I am here to help. So check those out. And if you need to know more details, send me an email. I'm just going to put my email here so you can have that. or you can check out. And to answer your question, should I start with GA4? Universal Analytics? You should learn both. If you are starting out, many companies are still going to be using Universal Analytics 4. So don't discard that. You still need to learn it. But if those who learn GA4 will be way ahead of most of the people in the industry. Like even, forget, this is a reset. People were expert in Google Analytics. Google Analytics 4 is a completely new ball game in terms of technical stuff. So it's a reset. This is your opportunity to actually master it and become one of those experts really early on. Companies who are seeking GA4 experts are looking for people who can help them. So whether you as a freelancer want to grab these opportunities, or there is somebody employer hiring, you have a huge opportunity to actually become one of those early adopters of the tool and become expert at it. So learn both. What if we are not wanting to use USD, but yes, you're not forced to use USD. Then you just put your currency as GBP. What I meant by that is in e-commerce, you have to put your currency code. Otherwise, your revenue is not going to show up. So that's what I meant by that. Most of the people who are doing tracking in USD forget to add that. They just assume it's default and it'll show up, but it doesn't. Okay, what else can I show you guys here? Anything else you want to see? But those are the very, very common questions that I see all the time. People keep asking this again and again in forums. So I thought I'll conduct this session to demystify those, answer those questions. So it's clear and you don't have to ask those questions again. Okay. I agree with Karen. I like the option of various views. Oh, did I miss a question from Karen? Oh, I missed a few of the questions. All right, let me just go back here. If you are already using enhanced e-commerce tracking, do you bother with a purchase completed goal? If you're already using some of the event names, some of the things have changed. So if you're going to be using GA4, use GA4's recommended list of events and parameters. So check those out. Your previous one will continue to work. One big change is views is gone. How would you compensate in GA4 for multiple country sites or to group several specific sites together, but not all? Is UA the only option? Yes, for views are not there. However, again, like I said, you can conduct a lot of things here with your analysis hub or your audience segments. So maybe your audience segment is based on this template, which is on the demographic information. I don't know, language code, location, country ID, region. You can create those and then you can slice your data by that. So you create, let's say if you want to create those users right here, I want to only look at specific country or region, contains the value, and then you put the value. I just want to look at people from Washington. Or you can have those audience, you can create all these conditions. Then once you have Washington audience, then you can slice everything based on that. So here are all my Washington users. Nobody there, but that's how you can get rid of those. There are certain things you can create, with your audience, you can mix and match certain things and you will have those. So it's not where you can pick up from properties, but you can create those things. You play with this one, Analysis Hub, audience. If you just want to stay within GA4 interface, that's where you'll go. And then you also have custom definitions. So one of the things is you can define a lot of custom definitions here to see what kind of parameters you want to see in your events. And those are available here. Once you create custom definition of events, whatever that is, and they will start to show up in Analysis Hub as well. Everything will be available here. How do you set up Okay, let me just see one version. What if we are not wanting to use? Okay, I answered that question. I agree with Karen. I like the option of various views, allows me to test around without messing up my master data. Yes, that is true, that you can have views, but you can, have various GA4 properties available to do that, to get around that if you want. And that way you don't have to mess up with anything. Or you can track everything and then create your analysis on top of that. Say, I want to filter this one, or I want to look at only these things. There are so many things you can do to, like, internal traffic, that's all tagged. You want to do certain other things, those are tagged. So you have the data, but this is where you're playing. In Analysis Hub is where you're conducting all those analysis. Again, different way of thinking, because there you have set defined reports you can go to. Here it's one section, but you can create views that align with how you want to see the data. How do you set up retargeting? I haven't actually done retargeting, but when you do these, create custom here, I believe you can do it here. I haven't looked into that using GA4. So I will actually look into that and get back to you. I was looking actually last night somewhere. So who did ask a question? Benduria, reach out to me. I think I'll figure that out and let you know how to do that. Let's see if it's in here. Google Ads linking. Yeah, it should be part of that audience. You create those audience and then you segment them. So you create your audience set here, new audience, create custom audience. Let me see if there is actually. No, it's, yeah. Cool. You send me an email. All right. What else? So if you do have any questions after this, feel free to reach out to me. I dropped my email address. Those who are interested in the courses, check out the courses. As I said, there is a 7-day trial, and there is also an option to get a discounted offer for ongoing membership if you want. And part of that membership, you get tons of courses, not only GA4, GA4 Beginners, GA4 Masterclass, Universal Analytics Masterclass. You have BigQuery, you have SQL courses, and then you get to participate in these 5-day challenges that we do on regular basis, which are 5-day challenges. Means it in 5 days it gets you up to speed on a certain skill, like maybe SQL. You take a course but you're not motivated, those 5 days you can go through lesson by lesson, you can learn and get up to speed. Just 30 minutes a day maximum it takes. Python, we have conducted Python classes, we've conducted GTM classes, Google Data Studio classes on those 5-day challenges. So you get to participate in those as well. And those who want to go further, there is a data science program that I have, which walks you through how to use marketing data, Google Analytics 4 data to find those insights, create machine learning algorithms so you can conduct deeper analysis. That course is also available on the site, but that's not part of the membership. So there is membership covers these on-site, pre-recorded courses. There are programs that we run on 2 or 3 times in a year, which actually walks you through everything that you need beyond those courses to make you a full-blown web analyst or data sciences for marketing analyst. All right. Hopefully you guys enjoyed this session. If you did, make sure to give it a thumbs up to this video. I will send out the replay of this session once it's done, it's compiled. I'll send a link so that you guys can see that replay. And if you have any questions, don't hesitate to reach out to me. You've got my email address. Cool. Thank you, guys. I'm going to give you a few more seconds to ask any question. If not, then I'll end the stream. How did you like it? Comments. Benduria, pretty interesting. Thank you. Thank you for attending. Yes. Cool. All right, guys. I'll see you next week with another session. And make sure to sign up so that you can be notified when we go live. Every Thursday, pretty much every Thursday, is when we try to conduct a session. And we've conducted about 20 or so far. Make sure to watch those replays while you're on the channel or bookmark it so that you can see those. And sometimes it's me running these sessions. Sometimes it's I bring in other experts and work with them to conduct these sessions. So these sessions are generally very interactive, not like your regular webinars where you just listen. Here you get to participate. And sorry, sometimes when I'm saying the name here, reading those, I might mispronounce your name. So I apologize for that, but I try to bring all the audience into the mix so that you feel part of this whole session. It's an interactive session rather than one-way communication. Cool. Karen, thank you. This has been great. Karen is very helpful. Temito, very helpful. Sorry, maybe if I'm mispronouncing your name. Benduria, last question. Should you have a place for each site or have them all under one dashboard? That again depends on your business. Are they all connected? Are they all separate sites? If they're all separate sites, keep them separate. Or if they're all part of the same ecosystem, user jumps from one to another, they're part of the same tracking because you want to know how people are going between back and forth on those. And then Daria, it was great. Thank you. Thank you, everybody. And I will see you next week. Those who want to enroll in the course and have more questions, send me an email. If you have any kind of question, feel free to reach out to me. Bye.